When the run starts, we will need to progress through the tutorial level. It is pretty straightforward without too many gimmicks or puzzles. The main focus will be on playing the rhythm sections well as they come up. We have two different difficulties for this game, regular and pro. To my knowledge, this will only affect the complexity of the notes during the rhythm sections, and does not have any impact on the puzzles and minigames. For speedrunning, the routing seems to be the same regardless of difficulty, but that may change as the community forms and starts breaking the game down further. This is an any percent run of the game, going to the true ending. For that, we will need to fight the final boss twice. After the first time, a secret area opens up, and using that and the help of an NPC, we can acquire the items to beat the boss for real on the second fight. For this first room, all we'll need to do is just focus on playing the notes well. You'll see the bar charging up on the back wall. Once that's full, a door will open up on the right and let you out. So just focus on trying to hit the perfect notes, and that's, I think, the fastest way to get out of here. Coming up on these cannons, personally, I always choose the one on the far left. That might be partially due to just me being left-handed, but I do think because of the angle it's at, you have the most opportunities to line up multi-shots. And so you're just trying to knock down targets until that bar that's charging up on that pillar fills, and then a doorway will, or a pathway will open up for you. You'll notice the continuing pattern of me going left here. I don't know which one of these is actually the shortest, but just grab the boxes, throw them out of your way. The two outside fingers seem like they have slightly less distance to cover, but ultimately I think it's negligible. This next room is the first room where we start to see the rhythm and puzzle elements get blended together. Initially you just want to focus on playing well, but the boss will start messing with you and preventing you from progressing until you run around the room and take care of other things. And you'll start to see this happening more and more and kind of ramp up in complexity as the run goes on. So you'll see there the hands come out and prevent the bar from going up, and you just need to run and push that button. They'll do that again in a second, and there'll be even more buttons. They're in the same layout every time, so just run between them and push them, and then get back onto the notes as quick as you can. These things are going to be in your way for a little bit, but I find it's not too, obstructive that I can't play the notes. And you're going to need to pick them up in a minute for the next little puzzle anyways, so if you can play, you'll get through it faster. And then for this section, you're just going to need to put the appropriate colored shapes into the right horns, and once they're all cleaned up, you can move on. As I'm wrapping this up, you'll notice I kind of just stand in the middle of the room. They'll always drop two more blocks for you to put away, so just grab those and then you can play the last few notes, and then the door will move open on the top and you can exit the tutorial level. So right here we lose control of our character and we just let the boss talk for a little bit, but that's the end of the tutorial level. And then we'll get started with chapter 1 of the game right after this. Alright, once we get control of our character again, we can jump into the first room here. You'll notice there was 3 stars. You can get a rating for every level you go into. This is loosely important for the speedrun because we'll need to pass certain star gates that are just stopping you from progressing unless you have a certain amount. But for the most part, you don't need to worry about it too much. If you do get 3 stars on this first level, you can skip another level, which will save you some time though, so it's definitely worth doing. This level also is pretty straightforward as far as speedrunning goes. If you're playing casually, they're going to try to mess with you a little bit, but all you need to do is just play the notes and play them well. They'll keep hinting that there's more important things going on, but for this level there isn't. It's strictly a rhythm level. There's no way to end it early, so you just finish it up, and then once it's over, you'll move on to the next zone.
True love becomes hard to find, and everyone around you becomes so cold, and then you start to drown deep in your black hole. Where is your soul? Nobody knows. What's the destination to where we'll go? We all have questions. Where are the answers, and why are we still here? Is there a lesson? Because you deserve a piece of gold.
You'll notice the door just opened up on the left. Not every level has one, but underneath the door, beside it rather, on this one, you can see that there's 1 star of 3 filled up. It's useful on some levels just to kind of see how you're progressing or know what your progress is. But like I said, on this one, we'll just play the rhythm notes until we're at 3 stars and the song ends, and then it'll let us out.
Where are the answers, and why are we still here? Is there a
Now that the song's over, the boss should let us out. He's going to keep kind of messing with us a little bit, and this is the first time we're going to see his minims, which are like minions. The reason why I don't run for the door is these dudes are always going to spawn and grab you, so I kind of just try to stand central so they don't have to run as far, but you are going to have to wait for the timer of their grab to run out anyways, so I try to just make them not have to run as far to grab me. But then after that, we exit this and we move on to the next area. After you exit that level, the game will automatically assign you a difficulty, either regular or pro, based on how well you did. For this speedrun, I want to be on regular, so it's going to assign me to pro because we did really well in the last song. You can either hit this button and change it, but it's a little bit slower than using just the menu screen at the bottom underneath your character's name. So you'll see me swap it back to regular for this run before we move on. This game does include quite a few stoppages for these little cutscenes or dialogue interruptions. There's no way to skip them. A few of them have a mechanic where you can kind of fast forward them, which is nice. This is definitely one of the more, I would say, frustrating parts of the run if you're trying to go fast, because it definitely feels like you're slowing down. But there's no way around it. Everybody's got to deal with it, so it's kind of an equalizer for all the runs anyways. We're coming up on this NPC. This is the one that requires you to have a certain amount of stars to progress, and there's an item we need behind this tunnel that he won't let us get unless we have 3 stars. We earned 3 stars on the first level, which allows us to skip that door we passed to get to this guy, which is useful as it saves a lot of time. We will have to go back and play that level later as part of a quest for a different NPC, but for now we can go ahead and skip it. In this phone booth, we've got 2 things. First, we've got this NPC. They're called the Traveler. Later on, they're going to help us beat the final boss for the true ending. But for now, we need to grab this weed killer and take it to the next level where there's 2 characters in there that will help us create a weed killer gun that will get us into some of the next areas and will be useful throughout the rest of the run. Okay, coming into this level, I want to talk about just the way the levels are timed for the most part. In general, there's a global timer that is the length of the track that is being played. With a few exceptions, you can get out of a level early, but for the most part, it will end when the song ends. So the main focus needs to be on either hitting your notes or making sure you get at least 1 star. Because if you don't, you'll fail the level and you'll need to replay it, which obviously is slow for speedrunning. So we don't want to do that. This is a level where I'm going to not try to get 3 stars though, because getting 3 stars is actually slower. While I can't force the song to go faster, that you'll see that green bar charging up around the turntable. That bar is gonna start counting down in between phases, and it takes a lot longer if you charge it all the way up. But I find if you do 1 full charge and then you also include the beans from the vending machine, that you'll get enough points to get 1 star and clear the level, and then you can move on. And we'll still have enough stars generated throughout the run that we won't get locked down by the NPC that will block us if we don't have enough. So, like I said, I'll just charge this one up all the way. Then you'll need to start throwing vegetables into their mouths. But for rounds 2 and 3, you'll see my character just kind of wandering around or standing there. I won't be hitting the notes, because that'll make the 2nd and 3rd phase go a lot faster. In between phases, the NPCs here will usually talk to each other, and you've got time to reload these bean burners. They're not waiting on you to do it. The music will start up whenever they're ready. But since I don't have anything else to do, I go ahead and do those and grab a couple more. There's a limited number of beans you can pull out of this vending machine though, so. Now you'll see I'm intentionally missing the notes here so the bar doesn't charge up in the middle. And in between this phase, there'll be almost no time to throw broccoli, maybe enough to get a couple of shots off, but that's it. You're really relying on what's there and the beans to kind of carry you over that 1-star threshold, but you will have enough. So here's where we see the benefit from not charging up that bar. We get a big jump in points just from the beans, but we have almost no time to throw broccoli, which is actually good if you're speedrunning. You'll get through the phases faster. At this point, I'd like to ask, if you haven't already, to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the video and the commentary. On a personal note, it's always just nice to get like recognition or feedback when you put effort into a thing, but more than that, honestly, I'm trying to grow this community. There's only one person on the leaderboards right now, and it's me. There is another YouTuber who I saw posted a run though, and you should definitely check them out. I'll link their video in the description. They were also submitting for speedrun.com, so I think that's cool, but I would definitely like to see it grow, and the more likes and subscribes, the more eyes we'll get on it, and maybe potentially have a more competitive leaderboard. So anyways, thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the run. So now we have the Weed Killer unlocked. This is one of the weapons you'll get in the game. Anytime you see the vines growing anywhere, you spray this on it and it will retract them and let you go through. You can also use it to destroy the green minions or minims that come along as well before they get a chance to grab you. Here we have the first boss fight. You'll want to make a beeline for this laptop and interact with it pretty quick. That'll start things rolling. After that, just get ready to play notes. I haven't checked actually, I should say, to see if there's a difference between the left and the right side. I think it's just splitting the notes. I don't think there's a preferable side, but I might be incorrect on that. As you're playing, you'll start charging up this bar in the center. That's charging up a cannon that you're going to use to destroy the boss later on. The boss is about to emerge here, and when he does, he's going to grow vines on both of the note platforms. And when that happens, it'll push you off of the spot that you're locked into to play the notes. So you'll need to quickly spray the vines, and that'll allow you to get back onto the note platform. You don't need to fully retract them though. You'll see I jump back on it pretty quick. If you get them retracted a little bit, it'll give you the option to jump back on. You'll have to deal with the obstruction, but I don't find it to be too big of a deal here. These yellow notes are the ones you want to mainly hit. Those are the ones that will shoot the cannon, so this section becomes pretty important. And you'll do this 3 times to potentially overkill the boss. You'll work through 1 health bar and then a second. You'll also see here that I make a couple mistakes in phase 2 and 3. I think I get grabbed at least once, which is slowing me down a bit. It ultimately doesn't affect the run because you can't get out of this one early, but still it's a little bit sloppy and I'd like to clean that up in the future. Yeah, here's me asleep at the wheel. I totally just was like locked in on the notes and let this guy walk up and grab me. You don't really want to miss these yellow ones, like I said, because those are the ones that actually damage the boss, but you really just need to get through the first health bar here. If you were doing a 100% run or you were playing casually and trying to get 3 stars, you definitely don't want to miss any of those, but for this run, it's not a big deal. And that's the first boss fight all wrapped up. We'll just wait for it to let us out of the room, and then we'll move on to the next level. Those glasses we just got as a reward for the boss fight are something we'll exchange with this character here. We get this bucket off their head in exchange for it, and this bucket is a useful item going forward. It's going to basically be your combo meter if you're familiar with any other rhythm games. And depending on which room you're in, it's going to have a different effect. Usually it's a score multiplier, but sometimes you might need to like charge up a useful tool or something like that, and if you have a better combo going, you usually get those things charged faster or more points. So this level will transition us from Chapter 1 to Chapter 2, and it's interesting for a few reasons. The main one here is we're going to see the Traveler again. This won't be useful now, but it will be useful when we have to replay this level later to get the true ending. The actual mechanic of this level is also pretty interesting to me. There'll be a video game that shows up on that screen up top, and you're basically trying to just attack different characters. So you want to keep a high combo on the attack side to do damage to get through it faster. But your character on the mini screen will start taking damage, and you'll need to jump over to the left side to refill your health bar. You'll get an audio cue when your health starts getting low, so that's usually when I make the choice to swap over to the other side. I also think that this level has some speedrun optimization in it. I do think you get out as soon as you beat what they consider the like boss monster on the mini screen, but I haven't done any like extensive testing to see. So you could potentially get out sooner by prioritizing the right side. You just don't want to die in the short term. So here's where it transitions to the boss. You'll get new music and a new enemy, but the main focus now is to just try to get as much attacks off and as fast as possible. Just prioritize the right side until he is down. As we're coming into the last few hits here, you'll see in the bottom left where that global timer is that we're only about halfway through it, so we definitely finished this level early. And I think it could be finished maybe even a few seconds earlier with a better phase on the damage side. So here we are, starting chapter 2. We'll have a little bit of dialogue here while I explain, but we'll spend a little bit of time in the lobby. We'll need to run around to a few different levels. We'll kind of constantly get stopped by the boss here, and he'll request that we, perform another task, which is usually just going into a different level. Most of those, or I think all of them, aren't skippable. You'll have to at least complete them for the boss to let you through. But first thing we'll do is run up here and interact with this light switch. The light switch is, off right now, but the area it's chilling in is a sort of a hub world. You can use it to fast travel between the different chapters. But it also contains all of the music in the game where you can play it without distractions. So if you're just really into the rhythm game section of it, this area is probably your best friend. Every time you complete a level, you earn a cassette of the song that was featured or songs that were featured. And when you bring them in here, it'll unlock them, and you'll see those portals kind of open up around the domes, and you can play in there. For speedrunning, we won't make use of this room too much other than to use these telephones to teleport between worlds. We don't need to mess with doing any of the songs or anything like that. There'll be a lot of these wall hands that pop out and prevent you from progressing up the stairs until you backtrack and do a level. So that's what we're going to do here. This first one is called the boring room. It's not very boring. You'll notice the circular platform that the notes are on. As the level progresses, it's going to start spinning more and more rapidly. There's no way to get out of this one early. You just kind of have to get through it, so you might as well try to 3-star it if possible. The other thing here is, I do believe in the settings, you can turn off the rotating platforms. I don't think it would affect the speedrun too much, because I don't think those levels are super skippable. It shows up twice. But if that's something, if you get motion sickness, or if you were a streamer or something and your viewers kind of got sick by it, I don't think it'd be a big deal to turn it off, but I think the community will have to come together and kind of decide that on the rules themselves. But Alright, and there we are, finished with this one. A little dizzier, but otherwise okay, and we'll start pressing on. We'll move up the stairs here once we get out, and the boss is going to have us backtrack down to pick up his mail before coming back up and giving us 3 hands again. The mail's down in the lobby by the front door. You just make a beeline for it and grab it and run it back up. It's just laying there on the floor. As we're coming back up the stairs, we'll run into the two characters that we did the dark ritual with. They're the ones that gave us the weed killer gun. They're going to give us a new item here. This is going to give us the ability to dash, which for the rest of the game is super useful. Dashing around is a little bit faster. There's like a kind of a honking sound that can get annoying if you hear it a lot, but it kind of just fades into the background for me. But that'll get you around faster. So here we get the 3 hands from the boss, and it's going to stop us until we backtrack and complete some levels. There's 3 hands, but there's actually 4 levels that need to be completed. One of them is right here behind the character, but it'll be the last one we do. There's 2 that are outside on a balcony, and then there's 1 down at the floor level of the lobby that unlocks, or basically makes it where you're able to do this one up here. So you'll have to knock all of those out first. We'll want to grab this plunger here. It's going to be useful later. The next time we run into the guy that eats stars, we're going to have to unclog him, so we'll use the plunger for that. For this level, we're going to be making minims for the boss or minions, and it's kind of an interesting mechanic. You've got the playboard here where the notes are going to come down, and there's 3 different play buttons up top that reference different tracks, and you've got a certain amount of time to play through them. As you do it, you'll start to create minion parts that come out of these trumpet things to the left. And once you have an equal balance of those across all 3 songs, it'll start combining them into minions. You need 38, I believe, to get 3 stars on this level, and there's no way to get out early. So I go ahead and start overloading the right side first until I hit 40, and then I do the far left, and then I do the center. The reason I do this is because the minions don't start combining until you have equal amounts, or at least until there is some in every column. And once that happens, you'll start getting the vine grab guys that come out and some other dudes that will grab your horns and run away with them, so you've got more to deal with. So for the first 2/3 of the level, I just try to focus on doing notes. But when you do swap to that middle one and you start actually combining the minions, you'll have to jump off of the note section here just to deal with the grabber guys and the dudes who steal your horns. But otherwise, you just finish up the level and move on. Alright, now that we have 40 on each side, I'll start in the middle here, and you'll see that as the trumpet starts producing parts, every time it does, it'll start combining them on the right, and that orb with the 0 counter will start going up for every one we make. Some of them are annoying, most of them parachute off the sides. I think it's RNG, I haven't played this level enough and re-watched it to know if there's a pattern, but I do think it's just random, the ones that you'll create.
We all have questions. We're
Coming into the next level here, this was the first one to really frustrate me casually. It's a mad scramble for the most part, trying to run around between playing notes and deal with little things that pop up. It has gotten easier as I've, figured out the game, but when I came into this one blind the first time, I did not think it was possible to do as a solo player. What you're going to want to do here, though, is focus on playing the notes. As you'll see down at right above the counter, your charge meter will go up from 1, 2, 3, 4 to the fire, and that will multiply the amount of coins being counted. And you need to get, I think, 600,000 to get 3 stars on this one. There's no way out early. The machine will overheat. I believe these are scripted, and you'll need to just dash back and forth with water to cool it off before it starts up again. Once this is done, though, you'll notice these blue guys pop up. There's 2 different colors of these. These are called Doom Minims. And they're particularly annoying, A, because they emit this, kind of screaming sound. But B, you need to jump off of the notes and find the gem for the blue ones. Sometimes they need more than one. But if you do not take care of that, the level will just end. I practiced trying to get enough points to get 1 star and then letting the Doom Minims end the level early for me, but you actually don't get credit and you'll need to replay the level, so you just gotta get through this one. There's another color of Doom Minim that will show up. The blue ones have loose gems laying around the map. The red ones, their gems are located on the actual notes for the rhythm section, and you'll need to hit multiples of those. You'll see it here in a second as they come up, but I should note also that for this level, you're only allowed to cross over the rhythm section up on the top where that bridge is, which also makes it a little bit more of a pain to get around. But for the rest of this level, we're just going to be rinsing and repeating this process until it's over. You do get a little more time to deal with the minims than you would think. I haven't actually timed it, but you get maybe a full 10 to 15 seconds before they will end the level. but I try to just mentally keep track of like which ones showed up first, the blue ones or the red ones, and then run around. But you kind of want to just take care of the oldest ones first, if possible. Now we're going to head downstairs to do a level called Demolition Training. This is going to unlock the upstairs room for us as well, and this is going to be a mechanic that keeps getting used throughout the game. They're introducing the idea of these tools here. They need to be charged up on the little lightning pad next to the rhythm section. This one starts out with like 3/4 charge though, so I go ahead and use it so I'm not wasting time. After that though, I'll jump back on the notes and charge it back up. You just need to chop down these main poles here that are holding the chains and then cut through the wood. Keeping your combo meter high will charge the tools faster, and while they have that red bar, they won't activate, but right now it is activatable technically. I'm going to go ahead and give this one a full charge and start cutting through the pillars that hold the chains. After that, you should be able to get away with just hitting that activation energy to finish up the level. I think I overcharged it a little bit on this one. The demolition levels is what these are called, definitely like ramp up in complexity as the game goes on, and I think there is the most time to be saved on these. The routing definitely needs to be worked on and perfected, which is also why I think it would benefit from a community of speedrunners kind of working together to help break it down and share that information.
Come on. Come on. Let's go. Hey, let's ziggle, zig, 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 ziggle. Wiggle with your ziggle. When you wiggle with your ziggle, you dig, giggle, and slide, and spin, and laugh, and spin, and laugh, and spin, and slide.
So here we see the other two items that you can use, the tools that need to be charged. The saw will only use up its charge while you're holding it. These two have to be set down. The green one is going to shoot a 4-way laser that melts through the green metal pieces that you see, that kind of like steel looking stuff. And then the purple ones are like bombs and they get through the purple walls. It's nice that everything's color coordinated, kind of keeps it easy for you mentally. But the purple one will activate as soon as you sit it down. So if you're not planning to use it in that spot, you need to make sure you leave it on a charger or make sure it's empty, otherwise you will have wasted that charge. With the green ones, you always want to kind of look for ways where you can get more than one thing melting at one time, because usually there is a setup to hit at least 2, if not 3 things. You can shoot it through glass, you can't shoot it through walls. Other tools, your character, things like that will also block the beam. It won't hurt you or anything, but it will prevent it from hitting its target. Our exit is in the top left behind, or where that rainbow is in the arrow, so we'll need to melt all of these green things with the chains, and then we'll need to keep blowing through the purple side over here. And once we do that, we can move on. So here we now have all of the elements combined plus 2 more. You'll see this like laser turret. You can use this to disrupt electronics. Some of them you have to keep the beam focused on them the whole time you're trying to interact. Sometimes it will short circuit them. It depends on like what the setup is. The other thing we'll need to do here is you'll see on top of all of these pillars is like a set of documents with a little price tag on it. This is a continuing mechanic throughout some of the levels, but this one will end once all of those are shredded. So this is also where some speedrun optimization will come into play, because this is one of those levels you can definitely get out of early if you're playing well. The shredder is located in the very top left. It'll always be, I think, kind of on the top left of whatever the rhythm bar is at. As we head into this next level, you'll see why that one had to come first. We needed to learn how to do all the demolition stuff because this one is essentially all demolitions. But once we get in here, I find that it is the fastest to just hit activation energy on all 3 of these tools, and that will get you onto the next zone. You don't need to cut through the wood below this monitor. You can just short circuit the thing behind it with the laser, and then just focus on charging your tools. The saw gets you through the first wood section. 1 bomb should blow a big enough hole in these purple rocks to let you walk through. And then you'll want to position the green laser right in between those 2 locks so it melts them both at the same time. In the meantime, you can go ahead and grab the 2 signs with the price tags on them and throw them in the shredder as well. That's the main focus of this level, is just shredding documents for the boss. And that will, like as the theme is, will continue to ramp up in complexity as we progress. Same basic principle in this room, but obviously way more complex, and they've added in a few more elements. We'll need to use our weed killer in here, as well as if you can see those red zones that are being projected onto the ground, those won't let you walk in them. so you'll need to deal with those as well. And our exit is right below the basketball hoop. But there's a lot of stuff you have to do to get there first. You need to chop down the wooden poles that hold the chains up and clear out almost everything else, as well as grabbing the shreddable items. When it comes time to bomb these planters, you can drop a bomb right in between them both and hit them, but you want to make sure the vines are fully retracted, so you'll see me after I drop the bomb keep spraying it to try to make sure that it doesn't grow back, because that can actually prevent them from exploding. But we'll chop down these two poles here, and then we'll work our way down towards the bottom and up towards the basketball goal. So this will be the final section of the school level here, and there's a lot to shred and blow up and stuff. You'll see as the fog of war gets removed, as we keep cutting through different areas, that more and more will be exposed and more things need to be shredded. Someone left a comment on one of my other speedrun videos that said you can finish this level early by getting all the documents shredded. I do not do that here, but it is something I'm definitely working on for the future. As a single player, it is definitely a hustle, but I think it's possible. I just haven't figured out the routing to be more efficient at it. In this room here that we're going to blow open, that purple door, you'll notice that the Traveler shows up. This is again a level that will need to be replayed later on when you're trying to get to the true ending, but it will end once you talk to the Traveler there. We just can't do it presently. A note about the little planetarium thing too, you'll need to adjust the laser to stop the power on that, and each one of the objects on it is color coordinated to the type of tool that will be needed to destroy it. So it's kind of a pain, but there's a lot of things clustered together there, so you can easily stack up points, but it will need to be fully done if you wanted to leave the level early. In this top right room, you'll see that there's those two purple walls. When you bring the bomb in there, if you wedge it into the far left corner, like you'll see my character do in a second, you can actually hit both of those walls. So I don't know if that's intended or not, but you can get it right on the line there and hit them both, which will save you a little bit of time. Okay, so that's basically the end of the lobby section. We're going to get rejected from going upstairs here, and the boss is going to demand fish tears, which is going to put us into the next chapter, which is called the Meat Dimension, and definitely gets my vote for the grossest background noise to have to listen to for a while, so just get ready for that. But otherwise, it's a pretty fun world. The music slaps in there. I have a good time with it. This is where that plunger we scored earlier is going to come in handy. We first need to plunge the star guy out of this meat monster, and then we can give him the required amount of stars to move on, and he'll get out of our way here. And then we'll just transition to the meat dimension. So right off the bat, we're going to want to get this spoon. That's going to come in handy later, but we won't need it right this second. And then after we talk to this guy, we'll be able to start taking steps to get into the first level. This entire meat zone is going to use the same mechanic where it sounds like they're trying to put on like a stage show. And you're going to be dealing with the manager, and this guy here is sort of the main character of their performance. The manager needs you to bring him music. So you need to grab this saw blade because we're going to exchange it for records. And we just need to walk back over to the entrance of the meat dimension. And there's a dude who's fencing music here. Since we have to come back here 4 different times throughout the meat dimension, it's pretty important to memorize which order that the songs need to go in. I don't have it memorized by color, I just know the song names. But I'll also, I can provide a list of that in the description as well for which ones you should grab in what order. This is actually a level we're going to have to play twice, but for the first playthrough, you just want to match the recipe on the far right. Those 3 golden gates will tell you what you need. Right now it's all onions, so that's fine. You just do that and then a lever will open up, and you're just trying to complete these recipes. The recipes will get more complex and you'll need to rotate through different ingredients, and you do that up here at the top of the rhythm section. The little onion one is the onions, the eye tax will make fiery peppers, and then there's one that has like a star looking dude, and that one makes these cubes. I don't know if they're sugar cubes or salt cubes, but you just want to match those up, and then I think it's like 7 recipes will get you 3 stars, and since you can't get out early, you might as well try to hustle and go for that. So when you do the replay of this level, you can actually get out by just completing the recipe early. So. You'll also want to be careful dashing around. There's a little bit of wind going from right to left on this one. And then eventually a hole is going to open up on the far left side, and if you're not careful, a lot of your ingredients can get blown in there, and that can slow you down or waste time. Once you get out of the level and open this gate, you'll want to backtrack a little bit. This will be us swapping out the disc again to bring in the next one, since I already know what it'll be. And then you're going to want to find the manager. You'll get interrupted here. This guy is upset that he can't get in, and he's going to drop his frying pan, which we'll immediately pick up. And then we're going to go run into our 2 good friends from the Dark Ritual, who are going to turn that into another item for us. We're going to combine it with the spoon that we grabbed when we first entered the meat dimension. And these guys are in an alley over here, kind of in the bottom right corner. But what the pan will do is it kind of gives you the ability to, like, I guess, mind control people around you, people or animals. And when you activate it, they'll kind of swarm you and they'll follow you around, so you can move people that are in your way, basically. Anytime you can see that little swirly icon over something's head, it means that you can use the pan to move it or interact with it in some way. I'm rushing up here to talk to the manager first. I've already got the music he needs. And then I'm going to walk back down to where the song is. You'll notice this cat has a golden collar. This thing is going to come up twice. One is a cat with a gold collar, and I think one is a dog with a spiky collar. The bouncer at the door will have a matching necklace, and you need to basically bring him his pet before he'll let you in. So move the meat men out of the way and then reunite them with their pet, and that'll get you into the next level. This is the first time in the speedrun that we're going to see this dog companion. They show up on levels where you definitely need a second person to do well, and you can move the dog in between any position that can be locked onto, so like notes, cannons, and one or two other special things that'll show up. The first appearance of this dog is in the second level that we skipped right away at the beginning of the run, so this is the first time we get to see him, but they help you play notes. They do pretty good. I think they do about as well as you are doing. And then we'll see me move him around, and he'll start hitting all of the meat men with sauce. If they're sauced, they belong to us, basically. And then what we're going to need to do is protect them. So as the song progresses through its phases, you'll see these like kind of meat tubes on the far left are going to start shooting out stuff, and that will de-sauce our homies and send them back over to his side. And we want to end with more than him. You want to end with 70 more than him if you want 3 stars, though. So that frying pan will actually come in handy here, as you can get the meat men to clump up on you and drag them around out of harm's way. But you definitely need to be kind of constantly managing the meat men, as well as the dog companions, if you want to be fully optimal. Not only do you need to worry about the meat tubes, but you get aerial bombardment as well wherever you're standing, so you want to make sure you're moving around. The meat men will deposit on their own. You just want to keep them safe until then, and then once they're all gone, just get back to playing the notes, and then you'll rinse and repeat until this level is over.
Same guy, slide to the front of the stage, hands high. Bounce if you wanna just bounce and move if you wanna just move and move. Now all my B-boys, B-girls hit the flow. Here we go now. Let's go, let's go. Bounce if you wanna just bounce and move if you wanna just move and move. So all the B-boys, B-girls hit the flow. Here we go now. Let's go, let's go. Everyone gather round. I think we should announce that it is time to bounce. While you're moving that left and your right foot, it's better now that you're hooked with the right book. I mean, you could do anything. They told me not to rap or sing a thing. I failed music, they said don't do it. I put down acoustics and started a movement. I rhyme like an air flare, up in your face, hold an air chair. Go at my pace. If I can do it, you can do it. If you can do it, they can do it. If we can do it, what we doing? Let's start moving. Bounce if you wanna just bounce and move if you wanna just move and move. So all the B-boys, B-girls hit the flow. Here we go now. Let's go, let's go. Bounce if you wanna just bounce and move if you wanna just move and move. Come on, B-boys, B-girls hit the flow. Here we go now. Let's go, let's go. Bounce if you wanna just bounce and move if you wanna just move and move. Come on, B-boys, B-girls hit the flow. Here we go now. Let's go, let's go.
So once you exit the level, you'll want to run back and grab the next track for the manager. The manager now is located in the alley where we made the frying pan. Once we're there, you'll also see the spiky dog. We're going to want to go ahead and grab that because we'll need to drop him off for the bouncer in the next zone. The dogs won't get near cats. They'll start growling at them and just stop in place. So if there are cats on the way, you kind of just want to drag them to a spot where the dogs won't interact with them. This level has one of my favorite songs in it, and it is primarily a rhythm level. You'll do a little bit with the frying pan of just needing to move around some cats and dogs, things like that. But for the most part, you're basically playing well to build the motivation of the main character for the show. And once that happens, if you build the motivation fast, you actually get a second phase, and that's what allows you to 3-star this level. But the same person who commented on my video that told me about the schoolyard strats also mentioned that you can end this level early by sort of not progressing very fast, and that will allow you to just skip the entire second phase because there's not enough time left for it. I don't do it in this run, obviously, because this is the run that they saw where they gave me that information. However, I have actually tested that since then, and it does work, so huge shout out to them. That saves, I haven't checked, but probably at least 10 to 15 seconds, if not more. And I want to really get into it and figure out like exactly what note the cutoff is on. But you do need to let, if you look at that global timer in the bottom left, you need to let it get pretty close to the end and then finish filling up the character's motivation. But I'll put out a separate video on that one for just that one so it can be seen. But again, huge shout out to them for giving me that strat. They actually provide a little bit more information for one more level as well, and I'll be sure to shout them out again for that. I just really appreciate that they took the time to share those strategies with me.
For the top of my soapbox. Papa said go sing like my two-star. Cool kid and I'm in the mood. Give me combo number 2. What's up with you? Do you look scared of me? Better take a trip we fail to see. A to Z like 3 times 3 is the basics. So me embrace it. Take the shot, don't waste the clock. March to the drum of the number 1 spot. Going for this, victorious. Storms break out so glorious.
So when the meat man's at the top of this ramp and working on this onion, this is the bar you actually want to hold off on in the speedrun. I don't do that here, like I said, and you're going to see it cut and move into the second phase. But if you wait until like most of the song is ended to finally top off that bar, there won't be time to do this second section and you'll get out early. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure exactly how much time it saves yet, but definitely at least like 10 to 15 seconds. So big save when most of the levels don't have an early exit. Looking at the global timer, it's right around now that if you avoided filling up Meat Man's motivation bar that you could do it and there wouldn't be time for all of the onion phase that I just did. But like I said, it's not displayed here, but I will put out a follow-up video explaining that and then further shouting out the person who showed it to me. Alright, as is tradition in the Meat Dimension, we're going to run back to the entrance and grab the last song that we're going to need. And then we're going to do a couple of steps and then get into the boss here. On top of the disc, we're also going to need to bring, I think it's 8 rats, it might be less, but you're going to need 2 trips worth of rats regardless. The manager is over here by the park bench too, so don't forget to hit him on the way up. But then we're going back all the way up to the tippy top where we went a few levels ago. And we're going to surround that skylight with rats, and that will open up the theater. It is too full right now, so the rats will clear people out. The cats and rats don't get along, so you'll want to make sure you move any cats out of the way that are in their path. I find if you just stick them in the corners there, it's enough, and just hug this inside wall and you can get the rats through, no problem. So the idea in this level is that we want to basically generate more fans than the boss. So what we're going to do is try to get him off stage so he plays less. All these little triangles in front of the stage need to have a rat positioned on them. Then you'll want to transition up to this balcony and throw all of these cloths off, and they're going to go anywhere you see another square on the screen. This is going to get a little bit more complex as the theater starts filling up with meat people and things like that. You'll need to adjust your pathing, but it's going to be basically this 3 times in a row. Once you do, you'll hit the notes for the bell there. That's when you just need to do the mind control thing in front of. And then you'll be able to come up on here and play notes. You have a different song than the boss, but this is essentially the mechanic for the whole level. It'll just get a little bit more complex as things go on. It's not important for the speedrun, but this is definitely my favorite song to play and also like karaoke in my car, so I just love it. So here we go again, getting all of the rats in position, and then we'll throw the cloths and everything else. You'll notice that all the meat people are here. You cannot get around them in this state, but after we do the ringing of the bell, some onions will drop, and you're going to want to move those around to try to position them to explode on as many of the meat people as possible. This will convert them into your fans, and so you can gain followers a lot faster to beat the boss. You'll also notice that the boss will start to try to bomb them, kind of like in some of the previous levels, to convert them back into his followers. You'll need to leave playing the notes, run back downstairs, and round up your meat people and move them away. You'll notice here, after I convert the meat people, that I first group them up into one big clump to make it a little bit easier when I come back down to move them, so I don't have to wrangle them all up first. Alright, boss bomb incoming, so you'll want to run downstairs and move the meat people out of the splash zone and then get right back to playing the notes. And then you'll do this for a final phase, just rinse and repeat the whole thing. And then after that, you play a duet with the boss to close it out. There's a limited number of rats that you can have around you at once, so it's not worth trying to round them all up initially, but just grab whoever's conveniently around you and then move on. I've got more meat people here than I can have in one group, so I split them into 2 sections just to make it a little bit easier for the next boss bomb. He's only going to get 1 bomb off, so you'll just need to run down 1 time to make sure they're out of the way. But otherwise, we'll play through this section, and then we'll enter the final phase with the boss that's the duet, and that's what you get your 3 stars with. We'll also receive the fish tears as a reward, and that will end the meat dimension, and we will go run back upstairs and enter the next chapter. So that's the meat dimension done. We're going to take those fresh fish tears right upstairs, and we will use those to get into the next chapter. Chapter 4 is a prison or cell tower chapter. The main focus there is actually going to be that we need to replay 2 different levels. We'll need to go back to 1 level in the meat dimension, and then we'll also need to backtrack to that level we skipped all the way in chapter 1. There's a honeybee character in here that wants us to go back and make super honey. And in order to do that, we need to replay some levels with the help of some little bumblebees. This level, you'll need to use both of these rhythm tracks on each side. There's going to be a searchlight that moves around this central tower, and if you get caught in the beam, it's going to slow you down. It'll automatically do that every now and then as well, so there's not much you can do there. But the main focus here is just playing the notes to charge up the bar in the center. It's going to raise up the entire guard track in the middle, and there's a sleeping character in there that you're going to blow air horns at until they wake up. For the first time you play this level, you'll need to do it 5 times. The second time you play this is not until you unlock the secret bunker, and you'll do this as part of the replays to get the final ending. But for now, you'll just charge it up, lift the thing, try to wake the dude up, and then do that until he wakes up. You'll see the floating Z's above his head. That lets you know what your progress is. Every time we do this, 1 pops. For this security check, you just want to match the block with what's being displayed on top of the shack. Besides that though, you'll see this red bar that fills up in the middle of the guard shack. That's unavoidable to my knowledge, and when it fills up, you'll have to do a random security check no matter what. But if you avoid the beam, you can keep those to a minimum, and otherwise just progress through the level as fast as you can. Important to note too that since this one is relying on you to wake that guy up to finish it, you can end it well before the song ends, so you really can speed the process up by just playing well and trying to hit combos. Okay, once we exit that level, this door becomes open to us, and you can skip most of these NPCs out here. They're not super important, but you are going to want to talk to the Queen Bee right away, and she'll give you 2 little bee helpers that are going to have you backtrack through the game. Initially, you'll kind of have to just wander around on your own if you're playing casually to figure out where to go. But I know the levels, like I said, it's the meat dimension and the first level that we skipped. So once we get these 2 in our party, basically, we'll run up to that phone booth and use it to fast travel between worlds. And once we do the 2 Super Honey levels, we can come back here. and keep progressing up the tower. As we're approaching this level, you'll notice the honeycomb beside it. You'll want to activate that first before going in. This level initially would be the first one where you're introduced to that dog companion, but it's not necessary for this. What you basically want to do here, though, is play well to charge up. You'll see these, the like honey balls on the left start to expand to the point where they're about to burst. And then you'll activate the bell in the middle with your frying pan, and that will release the flow of honey. And you'll just keep rinsing and repeating that process until you have charged up the full bar on the top.
To earn your pay, I don't know what they're talking about. I sit back and watch it come my way, and the money never seems to run out. Every day I wake up and I've got more than the last. Oh, it makes me smile, you know.
So now that we have our first round of Super Honey, we'll rush over here back to the phone booth and we'll use it to teleport to the meat dimension. The level we need is actually the first one you play here, which is convenient. You'll want to activate that honeycomb again before you go in. Unlike the last Super Honey level though, this one ends as soon as you complete 3 of the recipes, so this one could also be optimized. I play it suboptimally here, but otherwise it's essentially the same. The main difference is in order to start the flow, you'll need to activate the bell in the middle because of those honey blockers, but otherwise it basically plays the same as when you play it the first time.
Let's go, take it to the top, and we don't stop, 'cause it's now or never.
I am of the opinion that leaving the vines makes it harder for your stuff to blow away. I don't actually know if that's accurate, but that is why I don't really clear them out. I think it's slow, but also I feel like it kind of helps lock them in. But I'm not 100% sure on that. It might just be a mental thing. Alright, now that we have both doses of Super Honey, we'll run back over to the phone booth, but go up to the prison level this time. And then that will allow us to progress further. This is a pretty interesting level for a few reasons. One, it's one that you can fail out of early to finish, which is nice. You'll have to see those 3 hearts over the door. Those relate to how many lives you have. But it's a level where there's 15 floors that progress in difficulty, and your objective is displayed right next to the bar. On this one, you just want to play well. But it gets a little bit more complex as you go up, and a little bit more fun too. We'll need to get to the 8th floor before we can fail with 1 star and not have to replay it again. And I think it's floor 4 that I should be failing on intentionally and burning through lives, but I just was kind of spaced out when I was in the run and forgot to execute my strat. But on this one, make mistakes, do that twice, and get rid of 2 of your lives before you move on. I think that will be the fastest way to fail. Some of the levels right after level 8, like take a full 30 seconds basically, and I think you could shave a little bit of time off of what I did here. I don't think I'm far off from having this one optimized. I at least know how to do it mentally, I just didn't perfectly execute it on this run. In this one, in order to keep your performance green, you're going to want to avoid the notes that have the little like POW symbol behind them. Those will like bomb you and set your progress back. It can be a little bit confusing because they look a lot like the boss notes from like World 1 where it's just the circle around them, but you just want to avoid those.
this is what it said. Right now, write down, write your feelings out. Rhyme on a song loud, put my words in style. Find out why my people are crying out. Reach out with hip-hop, skateboarding's your crowd. Now is the time, now is the sign. Now say a line that'll prick the minds. It's over now, you're older now. I'll flow right through you, let's show them how. Bounce if you wanna just bounce and move. If you wanna just move and move. So all the B-boys, B-girls hit the flow. Here we go.
So this is the last floor that we'll need to complete fully, and then after this we'll fail. If I had executed my strats right earlier, I would only have 1 life left and I would just fail level 9. But you gotta get through this spinning one and then fail on the next one, and then that'll get you out and progressing up the tower. If you're in the position that I was in where you still have 3 lives and you get to this one, you don't want to fail this because you'll have to wait a full 90 seconds because you'll need to replay it 3 times basically. Go ahead and progress to level 10. Level 10 is one where it doesn't want you to make mistakes, so you can fail pretty quickly in there. Another small mistake here is you want to make sure you run upstairs and talk to the old guy NPC first before you go down. He's going to create a level right here hanging off of this green shack. I just forgot to talk to him first, but... So make sure you talk to him, and then you're going to run back to the lobby in order to do frozen storage. Okay, you'll see now that we actually have the level to go into, and this level is going to give us another item. Our Dark Ritual friends will create like an ice gun for us. The ice gun can shoot down the ice blocks at a distance, but for now you'll need to just run up and mash next to them in order to get them to break. Otherwise, the demolition stuff in here is the same. You need to break most of the elements you see. The goal here is to get to that violin case that's at the very top. And then the Dark Ritual guys will turn it into a gun for you, and then you can go out through the bottom. Something else to note too on this one is that all of the frozen pillars have a minion stuck in them, and when they become unfrozen, they will try to grab you and turn you into an ice block that you'll just need to mash your way out of again. As you move towards the bottom here, each one of these things you break is going to release another ice guy, so the fewer you break, the better. It's just less dudes to have to worry about freezing you and less dudes that you have to shoot. In my opinion, this is one of the most complicated rooms in the game. There's a lot of demolition things that need to go on here, as well as you need to drag the thief prince around. You'll see that there's 4 screens, or at least 3 that are visible right now, that are buried behind destructibles. You need to clear a path for him to get to those screens so he can pound them and break them. This one definitely needs optimization. The 4th computer screen is tucked into that little ball that's made of wood, but there's actually like a metal ball under there and then a purple one also, so it's like a Russian nesting doll of destructibles you need to get through. But the main goal here is just moving through the level efficiently, get all 4 things broken, and then you can get out, and you get to exit as soon as all 4 are broken. So that's why this one I think really needs some focus for optimization. Now that we've completed that level and we have the ice slants, we'll fast travel back upstairs, and that will be basically the end of the cell tower levels. And we'll progress into what is basically the second to last world here, before the final boss. This is the second to last Stargate that we'll need to pass through as well, and we should have enough already so it shouldn't be an issue, and he'll just let us through. The next chapter is all going to exist in the nightmare dimension for this minion that you see ahead. Once we get in there, there's 3 different areas we'll need to complete. They're pretty spread out too, which made it fun to route. The top left here is just going to take you to the fast travel zone, so that's pretty unimportant for what we're doing. But each section would require you to backtrack a little bit because you need an item from it to take to the others. I find that it is the fastest to start on this top right path. From here, you'll need to fill these hot dog carts with the appropriate amount of coins and then call everybody over. You'll want to do this far right one to get the brain because we'll need that for a different section, and then you'll want to open the center one here to play the level, but we won't be able to do anything on that third one on the far left yet, so you can just leave it alone for now. Similar to that level in the prison, this is another contest type level, and you can fail out of it early. You're competing for your survival against the minions that are displayed on those blocks up top, and it's just kind of last man standing wins the round. And you need to win 4 rounds before you start failing to get out of the level early, but once you hit 4, just fail as fast as possible and you'll clear this one pretty quickly.
you're moving that left and your right foot. It's better now that you're
Completing that level will remove the barrier around this totem, but there's no point in going in there yet because we don't have the item it needs. However, we're going to take the brain that we grabbed when we first came up here and take it down to this lower section because that's where it needs to go. So this whole map is full of optical illusions, but the path is set, so if you're aware of it, you can travel it every time, and as we progress, it will show it to us once we place the item in that totem. We'll grab this eye because we'll need it later, and then we'll jump into this level. This level is essentially an escape room, and it was really satisfying to solve casually, so if you haven't played it, I recommend pausing here and trying to figure it out on your own for the first time. But otherwise, if you know the stuff, you'll go ahead and throw that key in. You need the light to be able to place the keyhole. Then you want to play notes for a while the music path fills up. You'll see that the rock pathway starts filling in as you progress. And then the next thing you'll need to do is on that path, there'll be a password displayed that shows up in the form of the cardinal directions, and you'll need to memorize that. I tried writing it down, but it seems to change every time. I'm not sure if there's a pattern that they rotate through, but I've seen at least 3 or 4 different password combinations, so I wouldn't bank on memorizing it. Just try to picture it, or just try to grab it as you're going through. After that, you'll want to walk over to where that circle was and lock yourself into that, and it will allow you to play the notes. You'll see here, it takes me a couple of times to get it memorized. Once you have this left side open, you'll need to play notes to get tomatoes to fill that cannon, and you'll use those to knock the coconuts off. Underneath one of them is a hidden key. I also believe this rotates every time, but I'm not sure about that. This is another one of those levels, though, that you can leave early as soon as you complete the puzzle, so good memory and optimization will help here. I have a pretty good idea, but I definitely wasn't perfect on this one. When you find this key, it's going to go in the far right room in the corner next to that gate, but you'll need to grab the light as well. You can't carry them both at once, which kind of sucks, but just get them in that area and then you can place the key. You'll see on that door that it shows an item and then like a playing card suit, so you're going to want to grab that item from in the escape room and place it where it's telling you. The heart is on this table to the far left, the diamond is on the table to the far right, and then the club is on top of the bunk bed. So you just want to correlate those items together and then you can progress through the next area. That gets you with the key, and that'll open the center, and then you're on to the final section of this, which is the rock, paper, scissors section. You'll see that there's those hands that are sticking out everywhere. Each one of them is in one of the rock, paper, scissors positions, and you'll want to play notes here to spit out loose fists. Those are generically already set in the rock position, so you can use those as is. But otherwise, you'll need to run around the map, and you'll see that there's a fist in the very bottom right corner, there's scissors up in the left by the light, and there's a hand right next to the rhythm section. If you interact with any one of those signs, you can change the fist that you're holding to the appropriate symbol, and that'll allow you to complete the rock, paper, scissors match and win the game. Completing that level will remove the barrier around this totem like last time, but unlike last time we are already carrying the item we need. We picked that up initially, that was the brain. So we're going to make our way over there and place that item, and that will also reveal the path through this visual maze. Placing the item in that totem cleans up one of these 3 strands, and we're going to go ahead and make our way down where you saw that red strand. We're going to play a level down there called the Darkness, and then we'll place an item there, before finally making our way up to that very first section to place the last item. You might have seen already, but when you do your boost down a ramp or on a downhill slide, you get quite a big launch, so it's worth doing at the top of those hills when you can. This is a level that's also pretty frustrating as a single player. You basically need to be fully maximizing your movement in order to do well. But the goal here is you want to play the notes on the left. It'll charge up this bar to produce a cube of butter. And then the notes on the right will actually extend this cheese bridge. So when you get a stick of butter, you're going to want to walk it up the path and bring it all the way over to where those fingers are on the right. And you got to do 1 cube of butter per finger to beat this boss. And then a second hand will come up that is a skeleton, and in order to overkill this boss and get 3 stars, you will need to also get all 4 fingers on the skeleton taken care of. In order to really optimize this level, especially solo, you really need to manage the dog partner well and make sure they're not wasting time. You might notice too, after that arm sweeps everything off, on top of the butter machine there's this new metal tube. It kind of looks like a loudspeaker or something. That will allow you to start pushing butter directly onto the cheese bridge, and that will allow you to progress a lot faster rather than running the butter cubes one at a time. The butter will start to melt after a while when you leave it out, but you should be able to get 3 cubes done here, or 4, and then continue before they fully melt. This is the 3rd level that the commenter on my previous video had told me could be exited early. You can finish the level as soon as you fully overkill the boss, but I definitely don't get that here. I'm right at the end of the song. I think I barely managed to pull off 3 stars, but it's definitely doable earlier. I just need to practice this one. But huge shout out to them for letting me know that was even possible, because I thought you just had to wait for the song to end. But knowing that it is possible, I'll definitely try to clean it up moving forward.
Clock it like a metronome. People gotta let them know. All in together now. Stand up and shout like you mean it. This life don't let up. That's why they said you got to get up. This movement is the message and the music is the setup. Keep on marching, keep on marching. Keep on rising, climbing, grinding. Returning like Phoenix on the next horizon. Down in the mines, I turn the coals into diamonds. Cause we can make it right tonight. We can start it up and let it ride tonight. Shining like the city, come and get it if you feel me. Cause all my people gonna rise tonight. So look out all that's below, cause it's about to explode. But before we walk out that door, we gotta want more. You got to get up. I know you got your problems, but you got to solve them. You know you got to get up.
This level's definitely stressful as far as time management goes and making sure you're being efficient, but it definitely helps that the song is a total bop.
Watching TV, talking coffee, negativity. We see you want to live, but that when we can stand up to feel on top. People talking, but it should be on that what you should be living, what you learn. Get out the house, get up and do something.
Once again, we'll remove the barrier from that totem. It looks like it's hard to get to. The path is invisible, but if you know where to look, you can go straight to it. We're going to go over here and grab the final item that we need to, which is the heart. And that's the one that we'll take to the very first section that we skipped when we got into the nightmare world. Once we place this final item in here, we'll be done with the nightmare world, and then we'll move on to the final chapter of the game before we have to do the quick replays in order to get the true ending. So this is the final chapter of the game. We can go ahead and skip the very first room here. It's actually not necessary, and we'll just make a beeline straight for the Stargate. We should have enough to get through here, no problem, and then we're going to go right into the final boss fight of the game. We won't be able to overkill the boss on the first pass. It's impossible and without going back with the help of the Traveler. But we'll go in here and knock that one out first, and then we'll start the replays and wrap up the run. This is the first phase of the final boss fight. He cheats. It would be impossible to beat him normally. You also have to sort of employ your own trickery here. But you'll get the same notes and you'll need to play against him. Even if you play perfectly, you're going to get a ball punted at you every now and then that will kick you off of the notes, so you won't be able to keep up and he will beat you. The sort of gimmick here is that on top of the scoreboards there's a button, and you can press that button to immediately advance your score by 1 whole point rather than needing it to charge up. But you can only get away with that when he's blocking you. So when this little ball guy comes out, you can use that. I think I make the mistake here of pressing 1 too many times and he sees me cheat. but one less there would have been a little bit faster. But the goal here is use any visual distractions that they give you to block him from seeing you cheat, and the higher you can get that number quicker, the faster you'll move on to phase 2. Now that we've gotten far enough ahead of him, he'll go ahead and quit, and he's going to present you with 2 options here. He's going to give you a crown, and then he's going to actually be like, wait, would you rather just end the game, or would you rather fight me? It's a total bait. You have to fight him no matter what, but there is less dialogue if you sprint over and grab the swords, so that's why I go ahead and do that. He skips a few lines of text where he's like, ha, gotcha, we're doing this anyways, basically, so it's always a little bit faster to just run over here to go into phase 2. So this is now the actual final boss. If you were doing just the standard any % run, you would actually finish right after you beat this boss, but since we're going to the true ending, we'll need to backtrack a little bit after this. What you're going to do here though, and this is the same for both fights essentially, is you want to play well to charge up your notes. You'll be filling up that briefcase up top full of beans, and you'll use the beans to fill a cannon later that you'll use to chip away at the boss's health. Also, another thing that's not relevant to the speedrun, but this is my second favorite song to play. On both difficulties, it's really fun. You'll see our bean case is fully charged. Here in a sec, the boss will eject it. From here on out, we will be protecting the bean case. He'll go through a few different attack patterns. This stomp one, there'll be some rings that you'll need to worry about. He'll make little minion towers. You can clear out the towers by using the appropriate skill next to them. I find that it can be easier to leave the green ones because the weed killer has such a short range that you really gotta run right up to it. But we'll just protect the bean case for now, and then you'll load the cannon once this phase is over. So we'll load up with what we charged, and there's always some loose beans laying around you want to throw in there too. And then don't start shooting here until you can see the TV is breaking the line from the gun. Otherwise you'll waste a few shots, but just plow through it. You'll have to deal with minions every now and then, and sometimes the boss will put up like an ice shield, so just get rid of those things and try not to use your beans on anything other than the boss. I believe that these phases aren't timed. It's based on whenever you run out of beans, so you also want to shoot through them pretty quick. I also think that you could maybe get a little cheesy with the amount that you charge. Like, I bet that there is a certain amount that will clear the boss. So it might be worth like undercharging it on some phases if you know you've got enough to complete it, but I haven't tested that to figure out what it is. You'll definitely see me undercharge it and lose some charge in this fight because I was like zoned out and get smacked by the boss once or twice. It's not actually going to affect the run, but it is a little bit sloppy and I'd like to clean that up as well. Otherwise, we're just repeating the same steps basically. They'll get a little more difficult. They'll add some Doom minions in, I think. But otherwise, we'll just play to the end and beat this boss, and then we will start the steps required for the true ending. For the final phase, they'll also provide you with these meat men that are carrying beans as well. You can see they've got little charge meters you want to protect, otherwise they'll lose their beans. But this just helps you. I definitely shouldn't have taken that smack there, and I shouldn't have left the briefcase there. Yeah, this was not a clean phase for me, but I will have enough to beat the boss, so it's ultimately fine. But after I get the KO on the boss here, I know I won't have enough beans to overkill him, so I don't even try. I'm just trying to pound through it, just mash to get it over with, so it will end the level. And here we go. Once we get to the results screen from this is where I think the any percent run, the standard one, would end, but like I said, we'll have to backtrack a little bit to get the true ending. So this would be the exit for the any percent run, but we're going to go back down to the lobby, which is where the secret bunker is, and then we'll take some steps in there. The secret bunker serves as like all of the end game stuff. There's 3 different sort of challenges in here. One is to get the true ending for the boss. One is to have gotten 66 stars on all of the levels, so perfect rating on every level, which we didn't do, and we didn't even play all of the levels. The third thing is up there to the top left, which is it's a demonic challenge, and it will send you back to 4 different levels that are pretty different, more difficult version of them. On the screen in that bunker behind the traveler, it'll display images of the levels you need to backtrack to. I have them memorized though, so the first one will be this elevator. You don't actually need to replay it, you just need to start it up. And shortly after it starts, the traveler will open a panel on the far side, and you'll grab an item from there and then move on. Next up, we're headed back to school. This is definitely the longest of the replays. You need to get all the way into that 3rd section of the school before it'll let you out. You don't have to replay the full level, which is nice, but you do need to replay the first 2 sections, so you should be pretty good at them by now, but hopefully you've got the pattern memorized. They're unchanged, you just play it normally. Now that we've made it back to this section, we'll only need to charge up the saw and the purple bomb. Once the purple bomb is charged up, go ahead and cut through this door on the left, then backtrack for the bomb. There'll be that one purple spot I mentioned on the first pass that's in the hallway. We'll blow that open, that'll give us access to the Traveler, and once we interact with them, we can end the level and move on. There's still 2 more stops we need to make, but this is the longest one. The other 2 are relatively quick. From here, we're going to head back to the meat dimension, and we're going to go into the alley where we received the frying pan, and we're going to talk to the Dark Ritual homies one more time, and they'll give us the thing we need, and then the final level is up in the cell tower. So we're going to go back into the central mainframe level, and like I said before, you won't have to play through all 5 of the phases to wake this dude up. You just need to lift the center twice and then the Traveler will show up, and there's going to be an item that we pull out of the computer, and then after that we are clear to go do the final boss fight. Alright, here's our traveler and our item, and then that will close out the level and we can move on. This phase is essentially identical, but the Traveler prevents him from being able to cheat, so it's actually a lot faster. You can sort of hit his break limit, and he will move on to the second phase a lot faster. Much cleaner this time because I didn't get caught, but his threshold is a lot lower, I think, on this one too, so it's already faster, but I did much better on the second playthrough. The first part of this fight is identical, except the Traveler shows up and gives you the ability to get more beans. They make the bean case bigger, and that combined with 3 phases will give you enough beans to overkill the boss, and you need to fully overkill them for it to count as the true ending. So we'll want to make sure we focus on keeping the beans safe and make sure we don't waste any shots. But you get a lot more shots and it comes out a lot faster on this time. I started shooting just a little early here, but you can see after the Traveler shows up, they come out a lot faster, and the first phase is enough to KO the boss, where it took us 3 last time. You'll also notice too, we get a new song in between these 2 phases, so we get to play a song called Zen Now, which is also just indicative that you're on the actual true ending, but the pro version of the song is tough. I have not perfected it, but I'm still working on that. I would love to do a pro speedrun as well. From here though, we're just going to keep repeating our steps, try to clear our beam cannons out as fast as possible while making sure we're maximizing our hits. And we're actually coming up on time here as well. The time is going to end on the results screen like it would for the any % run, but this one needs to display all 3 stars for the overkill, but that's where time will end and the run will be over. In the last cannon phase here, just get him to be fully overkilled, and then after that, just try to get rid of the beans as fast as possible. Clearing out the minions helps so they can't grab you and prevent you, but the timer, or the song will basically end and start the results screen as soon as you can get rid of the beans. And there we have it. That's the any percent speedrun to the true ending of this game. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it inspires you to maybe pick this game up casually or start running it as well.